even know when they're gonna begin construction. I mean, they got Post Creek Hill first, and then a section from Nine Pipes to Don Adson Ford is next, and then the Ronan couple, I guess, is after that. So it's gonna be a while. But to me, I don't know, something like that through Polson, if it was even possible. If Ronan's is 40 million, right now Polson's would be 200 million.
Yeah, and I think you have a couple of bottlenecks there, like right next to the lake, maybe the room must.
Yeah.
When we did that study, when I first got in as commissioner, you can do everything they want with 135 feet of right of way, all the way down to the Quatucknuck, to the, right there by the marina of Lake Matties. And from that point on, it's big problem.
It's all have to be real estate purchase.
After that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or fill in the bay.
That's not, yeah.
Well,
I'm sure that's cheaper.
if you go back to the study we did back then, the tribe said, the representative they had at that time said they'd be willing to fill in part of that there. Because that's not natural anyway, is what he said in the meeting. And, it was pretty, the only thing that was 100% decided on was that there'd be two bridges. They can't just have one when it's all said and done.
At that time though, I was on that same committee and, their objection at the time seemed to be that they wanted 93 to still go past the casino,
Yeah, that
which now they're gonna move the casino elsewhere, so.
they, well, their representative at the time was the local attorney at the time. And he said that this would be a $300 million project by the time it was done. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
And if you see and I don't know where they went, but we had a board of what was projected. It's pretty amazing because it was going to be 2 lanes each direction. It was going to be a center turning lane. It's going to have all kinds of trees and shrubbery and stuff. And then it was going to have parallel parking and a bike lane and a sidewalk on each side. So yeah, so it's going to take up 135 feet. And you know, that was a long time ago. There's new council now and thoughts change, and so it could be entirely different. But the one thing they didn't want was a bypass. But we had to do the study to show that if they ran into any 4F property, or F4, I guess it is, that a bypass was feasible to complete the project. And a bypass is feasible, but the tribe didn't want it. They wanted to come right down Main Street, so, or right down by.
Caffrey, I think, is what we talked about, is the bypass. Something.
Yeah, they actually had like 3 or 4 different plans, but
I remember you didn't like the coupling.
What I'd like to see, the one where 2 lanes here and 2 lanes over there. And just from a public safety perspective, being in law enforcement, I didn't care for that. Anytime you're looking for somebody that's caused a problem or committed a crime, you're 3 blocks over here going one way, they're 3 blocks over here going the other way. It doesn't work out well, but that's a pretty minor thing in the whole scheme of things, so.
It always stuck in my mind because I hadn't previously considered that at the time. But as soon as you said it, I'm like, wait, that's off.
Would have been interesting if, you know, back in the late 40s, there was a proposal to raise Flathead Lake 17 feet to create a larger reservoir of water. And Mike Mansfield, Lee Metcalf, and who is the others representing Carnivals were all in favor of it. Pushed it hard, but then it got defeated in Congress because there was so much local uproar. And so they built Hungry Horse Reservoir instead.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, welcome all. Thanks for coming. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I think we're gonna do some introductions.
Well, we were, and unfortunately, I only got one of the 3 here. But thank you, Jody, for being there. I am, yeah, I'm telling you, that worked out. So Jody O'Sullivan is the city's new finance director. She'll be assuming those duties on Monday of next week. And We're excited to have her. Spoken with Kim a few times since she left on retirement, and that's going really well. We're missing her, but we're looking forward to having Jody on board next week. And so a couple of other introductions I will make in name only, and then we'll bring them back at a later date. But Tyler Leslie, if you haven't run into Tyler yet, Tyler is our new special projects manager in Public Works. So she pretty much is Ashley's right-hand person, especially as we go through the summer months with different types of projects. And she's been with us for about 60 days now. So really, really exciting to have her. And then just last week, we hired Martell Mimmer as a planner one. So we used to have a permit tech position that sort of serviced the front window and basically took applications and fees and did some filing, but really didn't have a whole lot of other responsibilities in the department. We took that position and added some funding to it and created a planner one. So the new planner one will still have some customer service role, not as much as it did, but then it'll also have a lot more opportunity to add value to what goes on before it absolutely has to go to Rob. So we can try and create some more space for him to do higher level work down the road. So yeah, those are three great additions to the team. Just excited about them all coming on board, and we still have several openings, I'm sure, like the county. So if anybody has a lifelong dream to be a assistant golf superintendent, or restaurant manager, send them to the city of Polson because we love them.
So you have to be a golf pro to be the superintendent?
No, at this point, you have to have a pulse. If you know how to use a lawnmower, that's helpful, but we'll train you how to use it.
These planner positions, you know, they're really hard for us to fill because of the pay, probably number one. So we end up hiring planners with no experience. So we end up training them,
Right.
get them to the point where they can actually, you know, do the duties of a planner. And then Gallatin County offers them $10 an hour more. City of Polson has been known to take planner or two also, but it's really a tough position to fill
It is.
for us.
And we're gonna be doing the same thing with Martell. She's got a background in the title business, so that lends towards knowing some of the terminology, but there's a lot for her to learn as well. So we'll do the same, in getting her trained and prohibiting her from having any meetings with county.
Smart.
So we're looking forward.
What's your last name?
Thank you.
What was your last name?
Member, am I saying that? Yeah.
That used to be Johnson.
Well, good.
Yeah, so we're excited about that.
We just had a discussion this morning, we were talking about our dispatch positions. And we get a lot of applicants that don't get interviewed because they don't look like they're qualified or things like that. Well, we're having trouble filling all of our spots. And so don't worry about any kind of qualifications. You hire somebody you can train for the spot. Or, but it was a discussion we had, and I think we're gonna have to start looking at just some good applicants that have some kind of experience in something. Maybe a job history or something, and train them.
Yeah, when I was in Livingston, that's basically where we got to. We were never in a spot where we had, you said 4 right now or something
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
we're down 4 right now.
But every time we had an opening, I hired 2. Because one of them was gonna not make it. And so meant that you were always running a little heavy from a staffing perspective, but within 6 months, you were gonna lose one and then you were down to even. And it's a hard job to fill, and I don't know if it's changed, but at that time it was a hard job to find training for inside the state. We had to send a lot of folks to Idaho,
Well, now you get your
Wyoming.
training at the academy, your basic training, but then you come back and you're taught on the job. And there's probably training out there somewhere, but I don't hear a lot of it from dispatchers.
We had to go to someplace in Wyoming and someplace in Idaho.
Well, we were down 6 or 7 at one point a couple of years.
over. Well, our overtime costs and dispatch are a lot of overtime.
And that drives you through. Do you hire just full-time dispatchers or do you hire part-time dispatchers?
Right now, it's just full-time. But I think we might be open to a lot of different spaces. The trouble with part-time is they have to have a fixed schedule, because if you just try to use them when you need them, well, they're never available. Well, I was gonna do something this Saturday, I can't come in and work. And how much leverage you have to make them come in, if so.
They still doing 3/12s and then a 4. Is that their schedule?
I don't know for sure what it is right now.
What we used to have, they would do 3/12s and then a 4 to fill out their 40-hour week.
If they would switch them to the way deputies and law enforcement, where you could have 80 hours in 2 weeks, it would make scheduling a lot easier. But where it's based on a 40-hour week, anything over 40 hours is overtime.
Sorry. It will wake you up. That's the point. Go ahead, Bill.
So it's, yeah, so it's, dispatch is just tough. Yeah.
Okay, Highway 93, S&K Gaming.
Well, I know Bill was on the most recent phone call. Maybe were you on?
Yeah, on the Zoom meeting.
Yeah. on the
Yeah.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
So this is probably more of a discussion than anything, but, I mean, I guess I take it from that there's more work to be done between S&K and MD&T. And, Bob Polson is supposed to be at the city commission next Monday night for their annual, here's what's going on with DOT, stay in touch type of a discussion. So we may have a little bit of that conversation at the city commission. I guess at this point, I'm just kind of waiting to see what DOT finalizes and what S&K can come back with.
Well, and I think you might have been the one to make the point. I don't think it's all the tribe's responsibility itself. I mean, Rocky Point Road is a problem right now without doing anything.
Right.
And the state needs to address that. And so to me, it's just an opportunity for them to work together with everybody right now to get it addressed.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a situation where the city, the county, and the tribe all have an interest in seeing that addressed, but it's state roads, so they have the biggest interest in seeing it get addressed.
So it doesn't sound like it's gonna be in the county real soon now.
Yeah, and I think that's probably acceptable for S&K at the moment. But once they get closer to where like that there's electrical transformers and that stuff starts to show up, they're gonna own the third. I don't know if DOT's gonna be there.
It might take some pressure from any source we can gather together, because one thing I've seen with them, it seems like the squeaky wheel gets greased a little quicker than some of the other ones. One thing that's kind of hurting us right now is they use pretty much all of their money for about a 4-year, 5-year period to take care of everything in Missoula, to just get it finished up. And so they kind of put everything else on the back burner or slowed it down.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an excellent point, Bill, and after the legislative meeting that we had a couple of months ago. I've been kind of saving my issues and preparing to, meet with both Linda and Greg this fall. Linda and I meet, I think, next week as well. Get ready for the session and talk about DOT projects. And I think that should be one of them right near the top of the list. That go credits for us. There's going to be right at the top.
Well, we've, new, turnout there at the Boys and Girls Club in Ronan. I don't know if you've heard anything, but it's not workable. So we had some complaints. People called us wanting us to try to do something. And so we, took our drone up and shot some video of semis, school buses, pickup with a horse trailer, trying to make those turns. And it's quite obvious that they can't do it. And so what the, yeah, Katie could pull up one of the videos. The state said they acknowledged that they received our videos and they're working on a resolution to the problem. But I don't know what the resolution is, other than making the,
So is the Boys and Girls Club over here?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, this is gonna be a semi coming from the north and turning off there to the Ronan High School and, so anyhow, I don't.
It's just too short a radius, is that what it is?
Well, you'll see here. It's gotta go clear out in the other lane. And then the rear wheel still hit the concrete there. And then we
Needs to
had
cross the other one.
kind of the same thing, another video where they're trying to turn north towards the lakes and all of their potato sellers and everything, but the semi pulled out in the second lane to try to make the turn. Well, then a vehicle come on the inside, looked like they were trying to pass them maybe, because they didn't know what the truck was doing, and then the vehicle had to come to a complete stop while the truck made the turn.
And is that supposed to be a signalized intersection?
Yes,
There it
they're
is.
putting up more signal hardware this week, but
they were waiting for some equipment. They didn't have it on.
Yeah. yeah. But anyhow, they don't have a solution to that mess. And then they've got there at Pablo Pass. You know, the solution they have there is they've had so many comments saying, please don't do that because it's going to create more problems than you already have.
So where is Pablo Pass? Where is that?
They're over the Mud Creek intersection with Old Highway 93.
Oh.
When it
So
was
what-
being built, for some reason, they had to build it way up, like twice as high as it is right now, while construction was going on. And that's when it got the name Capitol Pass. They've taken it down, but it's still higher than it needs to be, but it's.
I love that was a part of Lake County Act.
But anyhow, they're going right now. If you're coming from Pablo going south, and you want to continue on, if you're on Old 93 and you want to cross the 4 lanes and continue south on Old Highway 93, you can go through, well, all the way through that intersection. And there's been 2 or 3 fatalities there, people getting T-boned by people on the 4 lane. So the state's solution is if you're coming from the south and you hit the stop sign, then you can't go, they're gonna take away the ability to go through all the way and then go north or continue on Old Highway 93. So what you have to do is turn south. They're gonna put in an acceleration lane and then get into the single lane and then to the passing lane and then make a fishhook turn at the vet clinic to go north. So that's their answer.
So those potato trucks across there now have to pull out, go 4 lanes across and make this big U and come back up and then cross across the other 2 lanes and turn right to cross the highway. It's,
And we suggested it, and a lot of, I think, the law enforcement people said, just cut that railing down like a foot. There's a pedestrian railing. Cut it down a foot and a half, and then you have a line of sight and fixes the problem.
cause that railing's taller than it has to be. It's way higher than standard. It's been curved there.
Yeah, and I think they're planning on starting on that project this fall.
To do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I've had people in just the last week come and talk to me. You can't let them do that. You have to stop that. So,
so anyhow, they got their hands full with Lake County and city of Polson and Ronan and all that stuff.
Okay. Okay, so dispatch. So this is a interesting issue, and I don't know that there's a real great solution. You all have a lot more history on it than me, but
if you wanna take it over, we'll let you have. If that's what this is about.
I've done it twice before. I'm not scared of
Pass.
But I'm not afraid of that, Bill. So if it comes up again, we can talk. So I guess the issue for us is when we annexed we did the recent annexations on 93 to try and clear up who should respond within inside the city limits. And that was really sort of my first introduction to this issue. Clint and Kevin and some others, Adam, our IT director. But it doesn't seem like that we've changed anything. And my understanding is that that's more of a difficulty that dispatch is having with the existing CAD map software. I think my understanding is that county GIS, I mean, we're working really well with county GIS, and I think that they have the information and they've either mapped it or they're getting ready to map it, but their stuff seems to be pretty tight with regard to how it compares to ours. And I do not pretend to understand all of the technical issues in dispatch regarding getting these updates done. Nor will I if you sit here and explain it to me for an hour. I guess I just wanted to put it out there as the city saying, if there's a way that we can help solve that issue, if it's, we need to, when I say we, the city, the county, and whoever pay for training of county staff or get one of our staff trained. I'm open to whatever suggestions you all might have with regard to that. I just want you to know that the city's willing to be a partner. But I think our greatest interest is trying to figure that out, fix that.
So would that be an ADIS problem, issue?
Smart question.
Well, we'll check on that, find out what's going on, what needs to be done. I didn't think about the mapping aspect of it. I thought it would just be tell the dispatchers that if it's in the city. Well, it's all in the city now, so.
Yeah, and I kind of went under the same assumption, Bill, but I think it's got to do with their CAD map and how it pulls it up inside the, well, for us, how it pulls it up inside the first do software. That's one of the issues, but I think the other issue is the information that CAD is giving the dispatchers with regard as to response there. So again, that's not throwing dispatchers under the bus,
Oh, no,
the
no,
911 committee or county commission or anybody. That's just me saying, if there's a way the city can be helpful, be a part of the conversation, put a little money on it, whatever it takes. I just, so in my other life, I've experienced it firsthand a couple times where it wasn't really clear. And, I have a propensity to get lost anyways. So I need all the right information I can get. So, yeah, I'm just putting, like I said, you guys know more about it than me, but we're willing to be helpful. However, that's defined.
Well, we can certainly discuss it with Mark Clary.
There's a to Mark actually sent to the office, Mark has to forget items, so you know, some of the George. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, as you call it,
Well, yeah, I've just, George's, yours was the first name on the email list, I thought.
so it appeared to be a vendor issue with AESI's mapping system. And, Mark's been really good about going through and looking at potentially new vendors for next year. Fiscal year, that maybe there could potentially be a switch involved. That would be the easier mapping system. You can look at it. Have you been, good luck in the demo thing?
Yeah, behind my mind. Guess I don't want to get real down into the weeds about this, but I can give a little bit of information. What I've learned. So I guess once I learned this, so we implemented the software in our fire department. So the process of going through working with dispatch and ADSI on parts about having diagnostics. And through that process, there was a few things that I identified that the addresses that are in the map system and in ADSI, they're not formatted correctly. And one of them got fixed through this process, and it's an instant fix. It's as simple as 123 First Street East versus 123 East First Street. It was just how it was formatted, wasn't putting it out. Well, that got changed, and now those addresses work well. The same thing that occurred with addresses on highways. So highway 93, any state or federal highway, none of the addresses in ABSI were, because they're not in their formatted correctly. To me, that'd be another simple fix, and that's been pointed out. I talked to David, other team, but I talked to him last night again, the Chiefs Fire Association. And this has been brought up multiple times in different meetings. And from what I get from GIS here, it's that they send updates to ADSI. And ADSI doesn't update it, or the cell phone for a while, or whatever they do in there. And when I get back from ADSI, when I talk to them, it's, well, that's the county's data. It's not our responsibility to update. We're willing to help, they say. So I think there's kind of a disconnect. Whose responsibility it is to keep those things updated to things. And with that disconnect, it's just not getting done on a regular basis. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And if it's something we could just do locally, it would make way more sense for us to do it than send it to ADSI.
And they've told me that they're willing to train on how to do that. I know there's a couple of discussions that know how, they just don't have the time. They just bought me on the time. So, I mean, in my mind, they have, be appropriate for the GIS department to be trained in how access to keep those lights on.
When you first said that, that was a thought that ran through my mind, is if somebody in GIS could do it, it would just make it a lot easier because they have the information. So that's something you can definitely look into.
David is aware of the formatting issue with the highways.
And if you guys ever try to hire David away from us, you got
We'll
no
find out.
problems.
Speaking of my two-thirds. No, but yeah, and I appreciate that. And like I said, we don't want to overcommit Adam or can't overcommit Rob because he's already overcommitted. But I mean, we also have internal resources that we would be willing to get trained if that would be helpful for the effort. And then be a part of that solution. So I don't want to like have to, foist it all on the county. If maybe we could get trained as well. And if it's a city update, then we can do it or whatever makes more sense. We just want to help be part of the solution. Kind of move it from two groups talking about it to let's just fix it. So thank you. That's really all I had on that. Be the two parts.
Well, anytime you make a change, no matter how easy it looks like, you find issues you have to deal with.
Right. Right. So can we keep that one on for like the next couple of meetings? Just kind of be reminded. In June, I kind of introduced this idea of the EMS study. On the drive here, I couldn't remember, did I send you the document? Oh, selection. Okay. Good. So, yeah, so what, just to go back a little rewind, what the city is hoping to do there is a project to study, are there ways that we can supplement what's already going on, whether it's with the private ambulance company or Park Rural or the other volunteer fire departments, what we do at City Fire, and how that could be beneficial to, at least from our standpoint, from that study. We'll call it the greater Polson area in terms of emergency medical response, and really just trying to figure out where we're at the moment, what kind of options are out there. So we have a consultant that we've been speaking with. Yeah, thank you, Mark Jones. The study proposal that he gave us was for $10,000. I initially took that to the city commission, and while they're supportive of the effort, they really wanted to see staff work to bring some additional stakeholders in. I've had an original conversation with Tim, and then I had one with Devin. Nothing about money, just about sharing information and sort of being stakeholders on the project. They were both in agreement at that time. I haven't revisited that in a couple of months. But I think my proposal to the county last month was, would the county be willing to join that effort as a stakeholder? And then perhaps put like $1,000 towards the cost. Mainly just to, I think, validate being a stakeholder in the effort. And the city intention is to put $7,000 on the project. So what we're going to do is approach the county, the hospital, and tribal government, all three, about $1,000. So that's where I think I kind of left it. You guys asked me rightfully for a copy, and somewhat luckily I remembered to send it to you. So I'll shut up and answer any questions or what you guys got to say.
Well, in all honesty, we haven't really had an opportunity to discuss it yet, talk about it.
You want to put it back on for August?
I'd like to, because I'd like to set up a meeting, like that, because it has to be a public meeting anyway, so I'd like to see if Tim would come in and
Yeah.
And we can all talk about it and see what, because we talked about maybe expanding it county-wide or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see if there's any justification for that.
And thank you for saying that, Bill. And if we did talk about going countywide, I mean, we would still partner with it and partner, with money. So if that was a $20,000 project, then we would be back to our 10 probably, if we could get the other 10 somewhere in the county. So before we get together in August, my plan was to sit down with the tribe. So I'll see if I can't get that done, just so I can give you an update. And then we can still invite them or Tim or whoever to a different meeting. But I also wanted to do, because I haven't had any conversation with them yet. So I wanted to have a couple of one-on-ones with tribal government to kind of introduce the topic. But I will work through that in this. So just to be clear then, we'll put it on for August. But then are you thinking we'll invite folks to that meeting or we'll have a separate meeting?
I'd kind of like to have one before that
Okay,
myself.
and is that
Yeah,
something that you all want to schedule or you want me to take?
Let's us schedule that.
Okay. So I know what my homework is, or is,
So who all would we bring in for it?
Well, I'd like to really get Tim here and visit with him about it, about pros and cons and different things like that. And,
I don't know if you want to have it at that same meeting, but haven't reached out to the new interim hospital director yet. I think it would be appropriate to have that conversation with them as well. So if you want them here, I can make that part of my outreach as well.
well, maybe is there a point in having another meeting? Maybe we just wait and have it all at one time. After you met with the tribe, if we could get the hospital director, you
Okay.
guys have more information, we could get Tim here and more informed.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't I'll get back with you once I've talked with the tribe. And then we can see if we're ready to have that bigger discussion at the hospital and everybody. That works for me.
It's
It's always fun to schedule meetings. It's just the board that doesn't, right?
volunteer stuff's getting so tough anyway.
Yeah.
But we don't have a lot of public block 280 updates. We're trying to prepare a claim to send to the state for our last month's costs. Not expecting a payment real fast or even real slow. We, of course, we met with the governor. I think we discussed that the last time. He offered the county 1.3 million for 3 years through the legislature. But during those 3 years, the county and CSKT were to get together, come up with a plan for funding it after this 3-year period where we had some state funding. And we did meet with council. We didn't get a lot of interest in, future meetings, trying to figure out how to fund it. And, I think the reason for that is the CSKT is of the same opinion that we are, that it's the state's responsibility to fund it. So why would we get together and figure out how to fund it when we both think the state should fund it? So anyhow, we sent a letter to the governor last week saying, we don't see any need for future meetings because we believe the state should be funding it, so we don't have a response from them. Probably be another lawsuit, when we don't get paid, reimbursed by the state.
It was, I thought it was interesting because the tribal chairman's ending remark was, it's clear it's the state's responsibility. And it is. And, it was Martin Charlo actually stated that, well, if there's funding out there, the tribe should probably get something. So, that's, I mean, the chances of tribe kicking in anything is very, very slim.
And for the state to retrocede from the agreement, they need the blessings of the council. And what I came away with is council is not going to sign off on that. There appears to me they think the state is a player in this and they just can't say, we're gonna retrocede and walk away from the agreement, which could be another lawsuit. Some question about whether we're actually in or out based on the governor's proclamation or lack of a proclamation. So, the governor said we didn't submit the proper paperwork for him to issue his proclamation, but we think our paperwork was sufficient. So I don't know what he'll do now.
One thing this administration knows is papers.
Oh, yeah.
It,
And how to file lawsuits.
first they said they didn't get the gift. So when we gave them the documentation proving we got it, well, okay, we got it, but it's wrong, so it's, but it did get the meeting that we would ask for earlier, so.
I guess we're just kind of in a holding pattern there to see what's coming next, if anything.
So one thing I forgot to put on this list that just occurred to me, so if I can add that real quick.
Sure.
11th. We had talked about, you all had mentioned that you would be interested in doing that this summer.
If possible.
If that's still on the table, then I would say not in July, but in August. I think we could make that happen.
And I think Joey's leaning toward fall because you can chip seal and this kind of weather we can't pave. So we'd rather pave
August or September or
probably September, October.
Yeah, that would work. So, I mean, I think we should, I've spent some time looking at our projects in the budget, and I think I know where we want to move things. So, what do you want me to do with that? Do you want me to get Ashley and Jay together?
I would say that's probably the best thing to do. You'll, Ellen would have to go with her after August sometime. Or Ashley,
I'll point Ashley that together.
that'll be good.
I'm gonna, yeah.
But even with.
Well, thank them.
It's so bad. Oh, yeah, I will.
We have, and with the road issue, we had that application to abandon that piece of 13, and we denied it.
Right.
We, basically, it doesn't meet the legal parameters to even be able to do it right now, so.
Okay.
And we knew you guys wanted to get that all annexed in and do your sewer work and stuff, so.
That's good. Thank you for that. Well, I will point Ashley this direction and they can start setting up something after August. Thanks for us.
We're working on an update on our growth policy, so we're hoping to get that hammered out in the next couple months.
Are you doing that internal?
Yes. Yeah, we did 5 years ago, we did a complete rewrite. We hired Dave the Grand Prix to walk us through that. So now we're just doing, what do we call it, Billy?
Update,
Update,
yes.
no big changes.
No, we're updating all the tables and we're updating the implementation plan. If anyone has any feedback on that section of it. Hopefully we'll get it done by the end of August.
There will probably be some stuff in there addressing the short-term rentals and stuff like that.
But it also goes along with the LPIS, it is updating the subdivision regulations.
Right.
It's going to be happening, so whatever that is.
The population estimates, amazing, even 5 years ago, are significantly askew. You know, based on what the population projections were. Right. Of course, that was pre-COVID. It changed everything, and then we even had some population projections during the rewrite that in 2060 there would be fewer people in Lake County than there are right now, which was interesting. But that's why projections are just projections.
Yeah, I probably won't be here to see that.
Yeah,
I've got something pretty interesting here. We were contacted by Missoula County about a possible boundary line adjustment between Missoula County and Lake County. And Condon really doesn't fit in Missoula County. And they've tried to get into Lake County several times. Well, they went through a process to try to become their own county, and they don't have enough population. So then they went through a process to try to get incorporated, and they didn't meet the legal parameters for that. So commissioners came to us, well, would you be willing to take Condon as part of Lake County, which it would fit better with, and we would take some of the south part of Lake County, just to offset it, so like Garley or something like that. And I said, well, you know, it would be an interesting discussion, not saying we do it, but it'd be interesting to look at it. So they sent us a map with they said we broke off property that's got a $19 million valuation of
taxable value.
taxable value. And so what would that do in Lake County for the south end of the county? So we put together a map for us. That's what we would get of Missoula County. This is what they would get in Lake County, to come up with a $19 million valuation. And I sent him a copy of that. And Dave Strohmeyer's what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he says, well, that can't be it. I said, no, that's right. He said, well, he says, we can't be comparing apples to apples. So we figured out we are. And he just can't believe that there'd be that much difference in land mass. But out of our $106 million valuation, $93 million of it is up here. That's $13 million right there. That didn't even come up to 19 million. They actually broke up.
How far is that?
North of Pablo.
North of Capitol.
That's the good
It's
part.
right behind my house, I'm pretty sure.
They would give Pablo. They'd also get Commissioner Stanley and Commissioner Decker's property also, and I don't want going in Missoula County.
We definitely have to change our districts for commissioners.
This would be interesting.
Yeah, so the possibility is something like that happens, yeah, he said.
You know what, and what it really does, it's a great visual that highlights the property tax revenue that we don't collect. You know, because all of that land is tax exempt. And trying to get the governor to understand that, or maybe even commissioners from other counties, they just can't comprehend it until you show them a map like that and say, this is what we're talking about.
Well, I'm gonna try to get time at our next Mayco Board of Directors meeting to just do a little presentation on this to put that thought process together. It was crazy.
Well, I'll be honest, in 30 years, I haven't seen counties change borders before, so that would be somewhat of an original.
Yeah, it can be done.
Yeah, I'm sure it can.
Yeah. And something like this actually be as simple as just both counties voting on it. And if they both voted it in, it could be done. And then you'd have to sit down and figure out how, but if there's any levies in place anywhere that would have to carry over and back and forth and stuff like that, then school districts, fire districts, things like that probably would change, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I thought it even surprised me. I thought, well, you know, we're gonna get this little chunk over there and they're probably gonna get all the way to the valley or something like that, you know, to the junction, maybe even as far as St. Ignatius. And it was even farther than that.
We've even talked about, discussed disenfranchisement of the county. Just you know, financially, our tax base just keeps dwindling. So at what point do we look at saying enough is enough and give Missoula County back what they had in 1923 and give Flathead County back what they had? But it's not complicated, but a long process. People have to vote to accept, people have to vote to get out. Impact counties have to take on the debt, so Polson School District is pretty much in Flathead County, so those people would have to vote to take on the debt for the new school building. We'll have a little bit of debt with our annex and jail yard, and so anyhow, it can be done. And I could see more and more of that happening in the future. I mean, Fallon County's got 600 people. But hard to understand why they need a county government,
But that's,
you know, for 600 people.
well, I don't know, it was like probably 25, maybe 30 years ago now, a representative put a plan together to break the state down to 18 counties. And it really made sense from a cost savings perspective and things like that. But, politically, it wasn't well accepted. It didn't get very far in legislature, but he was gonna cut down the number of school superintendents, number of school districts, and it was a very comprehensive plan, but politics stop a lot of good decisions, unfortunately.
Well, it'll come to the point where you have to start diminishing your county services because you can't afford it, so. Instead of 20 people on your road department, you have 10, instead of 20 deputies, you have 10.
So this 106 bill, that's 106 million in property tax revenues or taxable valuation?
Tax evaluation.
And how did they come up with those numbers?
Same way we did, they take all the properties that Dave has access to all of that. They have.
Yeah, but they couldn't have gone property by property.
Probably just pulled it off that catastrophe or something.
Yeah, but I mean, how would you?
But the state,
I guess I don't understand how you're going to cadastral and say, I want all the taxable value of all the properties south of our valley, Montana.
It's on the back end of the cadastral. They have that data plus a whole bunch more and they can download it.
that's,
Add it on and you can search it and say, you want all the properties. And
That's interesting.
yeah.
We're thinking about annexing Kalispell.
you have to take Dayton too.
Yeah, we're gonna grab it all. We're gonna grab it all. winter to whitefish, but whitefish is too expensive, so. We're gonna move it out. Yeah,
Yeah, you should send them a letter and say, there's a resolution to annex you.
what's that?
When are we bringing that resolution?
Hey, it's, September.
Okay.
So is that a hostile takeover?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Well, I got a phone call from somebody last week, surprised, wanting to know what we could do about, said hostile takeover. Artillery bombs that had been falling in her neighborhood. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. Who are we under attack from now? Some further explained it. She was talking about fireworks. So,
George and I was just discussing that before you came in. We had a call from a lady wanting to know what the fireworks regulations were out in the county. So I don't think we really have any.
They're still going on last week.
Yeah.
7:22 a.m. on Saturday morning, we were getting ready to go to start baseball in Kalispell. I was like, are your parents?
Well, if they were,
Right now.
if they were asleep, they weren't.
Yeah.
A few of them went on.
And when I was sheriff, we got with the county attorney at the time, I can't remember if it was Mitch or Bob. I think it was Bob. But, we used 11 o'clock for a cutoff on like weeknights. And just about every night, midnight on weekends, and then on 4th of July, we just let them shoot them off all night. Didn't even, people were just gonna have to live with it for a night, but. And it worked pretty good. 21. And they're a lot more expensive this year than they were last year too. But I'll tell you what, that display they put on July 3rd out here, I thought that was a really good display. 25 minutes just nonstop.
You see the campfire in the boat?
No,
Yeah, there was a boat out there, a boat, beach with a campfire. They had a fire going. We got close enough, we could see the stack fire again. Because you're not,
What will they think of next?
yeah, their campfire and their party party.
It's cold out on the lake, no matter what you're in.
Yeah.
Well, thank
folks.
you.
Appreciate it. It's always good.
Yeah.
Thank you for the copy. And, I'll get back to you once I know more about how the conversation with the travel went. Let me mess. That's all we got for today. Good stuff.
You bet. Enjoy the rest of, July. It'll go by fast.
this is